and welcome to the Monday evening.
Ball like I do after dark. It's a must listen.
That's where I go to get my hoops fixed.
This is Field of 68 after dark.
Welcome in to a Sunday, December 22nd edition of Field of 68 after dark. We're going four wide. We're going four wide on a Sunday. How about that? It might have been a lighter day of college basketball, but we have put together a big show for you tonight here on Field of 68. I'm John Martin, joined tonight by Kevin Sweeney, Jeff Goodman, Matt McCall. A little bit later in the show, we're going to be joined by Mississippi State coach Chris Jans, who continued his superb season this weekend with a win at Memphis. Certainly, I mean, basically wire to wire. It was as impressive a win as you'll see in college basketball this year. And then we're going to hand out our naughty and nice superlatives of the college basketball. We're getting obviously close to the holidays here, and I know Jeff certainly should have an extensive naughty list. So stay tuned for that. Gentlemen, thanks for being here. But in terms of games that we did get today, certainly it feels like the biggest one, Kevin, was Illinois in St. Louis. This Missouri team obviously came in having only lost one game on the season. That was to Memphis at Memphis. Illinois holds on, gets the win 80-77. Missouri gets a look at it, but Illinois does indeed hold on. For Illinois to do this in a neutral, in a non-conference, what does this say about them? What does this win do for them?
I thought it was huge just for their belief. Really, like 2 games in a row in close end-of-game situations, the Tennessee game and the Northwestern game. They didn't finish. Like, they had a 10-point lead against Northwestern, had every reason to win that game, couldn't close it. And then against Tennessee, had every opportunity. Tennessee's in foul trouble. They take that lead by 6 with, I think, 6 or 7 to go. Just couldn't quite get over the finish line, right? So if you give away another one in a rivalry game, a game you led almost the whole way, I think then that doubt starts to creep in. Like, can we close games? Can we be the team we thought we would be? And so to win this is huge. It gives you momentum into Christmas, gives them another good win on their non-conference resume. They beat Arkansas already, already have the Wisconsin win in league play. I've been a huge believer in this Illinois team from the jump. They are still not a finished product by any means, but to see them win a game like this where they dealt with some adversity late and found a way to win it was huge. To see Kasparas Giacošonis, after he struggled down the stretch against Tennessee, step up and really finish at a high level and make some big plays down the stretch, hit that 3, and then the fadeaway to go take back the lead. All those were huge, and a credit to Brad Underwood. They needed this game and got it.
Goodman, give me your thoughts.
I'm more impressed with Missouri in a way because I didn't expect anything from Missouri this year. I mean, they put up the goose egg last year in the league, and they revamped this team. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't know. Tamar Bates was an okay player at Indiana. Mitchell was good, but not great at his previous spot. And Perkins at Iowa, like they kind of threw together another team, and it just shows you that you never know. They come out of the gates, like you said, they lost to Memphis. Then they get the big win against Kansas, and you wonder, was that a little bit fluky? And to be able to play with Illinois the whole way for the most part, I actually was really impressed with Missouri and kind of interested to see now what they can do and if they can be an actual NCAA tournament team now.
Yeah, we'll get to them, and I appreciate you saying that because I agree with you. I thought Dennis Gates was a lot better than what he showed a season ago. But, Matt, just for Illinois quickly here, I mean, you have a non-conference schedule. Obviously you got Big Ten play, so it's not like it's life or death.
Yeah, look, I mean, they handle their business. This is the game before Christmas. This is the game before you go on break, which is one of the more challenging games to play. And if I was still coaching, I would want to play against someone that's a level of an opponent like Missouri, because you're going to have your players' attention. When you play a bye game or you bring someone into your arena and there's not a great crowd in there, that's tough. There's nobody on campus. You're trying to keep your kids focused and locked in. But Illinois got out of here with a win. Outside of the turnovers, the game really shouldn't have been that close. I mean, when you look at the numbers based on it, Missouri got to the free throw line 37 times, Illinois only 23. But really, Illinois' turnovers were the only reason that the game was even remotely close, turning it over 17 times. This team's for real. And I know we're going to get into the Big Ten and who are our favorites in this league. And, I think as this team continues to mold and continues to grow up, and Sweeney was talking about it a little bit ago, they're going to be right there. They're going to be right there in the mix, and they're going to, compete for a regular season championship. I mean, but Missouri is to see, and to Goodman's point, what happened last year with the goose egg in the SEC to beat Kansas and to compete in a game like this and have them on the ropes. It's quite the turnaround, to say the least. I mean, it's kind of hard to go, not win a game in your league. Like that's like, you got to get one ball to go in, right? Like, I mean, it's just
McCall, winning is hard. Winning is hard, and losing every game is hard.
You know what else is hard, Jeff?
With Stackhouse. Stackhouse was in that league.
In your rental in Charleston behind your background. That's also hard. Okay, we got the horse going on back there. I don't know really what's there.
The horse?
We got no dishes or anything. I mean, we got to get a little bit of a better background.
It's the other way.
Okay.
Does the horse have a name, by the way? Is the horse? What's the?
Yeah, it's a jackass named John Martin. That's what we.
Oh, okay, perfect. That looks like a stallion, by the way. That's not a donkey. That's a thoroughbred.
Donkey. It's a complete donkey.
We do like a Field 68 logo or something going on in the background.
That's right.
Good.
That's right. I like it. When he sees a thoroughbred, he thinks of me. And I think that describes it perfectly. Kevin, in terms of a ceiling, before we get to this Missouri team and the Dennis Gates conversation that I want to revisit with the Goodman, what's a good sort of ceiling for them?
For Mizzou?
No, for Illinois.
Oh, for Illinois. Look, I think Illinois' ceiling is that they win the Big Ten. Like, I really believe that they're that level of team. Like, I think when Kasparis is playing at the level he can, when you have Ivisic stretching the floor, Will Riley who can go create offense, Boswell defending, like, they have a nucleus that I think is the most talented in the league. I just think it's a matter for them of the consistency, right? You've already given away a game in league play you probably should have had at Northwestern. And that's no knock on Northwestern. Northwestern's a good team. I think Northwestern's a tournament team. But if you're going to win a league championship, right, like the teams that do that find ways to win 50-50 games on the road. And so far, Illinois hasn't. Now, again, will they down the stretch as they get older, as guys like KJ get more experience? Yeah, like they might. And that's to me what's so exciting about this group is I still don't think they're a finished product. But I've actually thought they've been better defensively than I thought they'd be. They're now 11th on KenPom defensively, which is really impressive. I mean, Brad Underwood saying they couldn't guard a high school team like a month and a half ago. So for them to be there now is a great step. And offensively, like, I'm pretty sure they're going to figure it out. They have super talented personnel.
Going to handicap the Big Ten here momentarily, but Goodman, you mentioned it. I mean, last year was a disaster. Comes on the scene, gets the job, wins a game in the tournament, and then he runs it back last year, and it just never gets off the ground. They gave him a big contract with a big buyout, so obviously the belief level is very high for him. But from year to year, is it a situation where, I had the wrong mix of guys in the portal era? Like, how do you go to from as bad as they were a year ago to the difference that you're seeing this year?
Yeah, it's a whole lot easier to do that these days because of the portal, because you have so many new guys, and you can get momentum quickly, you can lose it quickly. And I was shocked, to be honest, that the former AD, Desiree Reed-Francois, gave him that guaranteed contract after 1 year. This is a situation that I think a lot of ADs need to look in the mirror, and there are others. I mean, Scott Barnes did it at Oregon State when Wayne Tinkle went to the Elite Eight in the bubble, gave him guaranteed money. And it's like, who are you bidding against when you do this? Like, why would you give these guys guaranteed money like that when you're not really bidding against anybody? And Dennis Gates did a hell of a job in year one, but you kind of want to make sure it's not a one-off. And after last year, a lot of people were wondering, was it a one-off? And this year will really determine. And I think Dennis Gates will be somewhere in the middle, obviously. I don't think they're going to be world beaters this year, but if they get to the NCAA tournament, it validates the fact a little bit that contract was probably, somewhat worth it.
All right. And as promised, Matt, we talked about sort of where Illinois fits into the Big Ten discussion, new league. It was a heavyweight before, even heavyweight now with some additions. As you sort of look out at the Big Ten landscape, how do you see the top of this league, on December 22nd?
Well, I think Mick Cronin's got to be scratching his head and sick to his stomach with what happened yesterday. At the end of the game, inbounding the ball, you never want to inbound the ball below the block. I mean, they had every opportunity to knock off North Carolina, and that was a difficult game, no question, for UCLA. But I still think UCLA is really, really good. I look at the end of the Michigan game the other night. Call it what you want. Very questionable call. If I was Dusty May, he's a better man than I am. I would have been losing my mind when they called that foul on a 4-point play to lose the game. I think Michigan's really, really good. And then Michigan State, Tom Izzo, you can never count this guy out. Mm-hmm. And what they're doing, and they're playing at a high level. And then I think Kevin Willard at Maryland. I mean, you look at the top of the league and the standings right now. I mean, this is going to be a lot of fun to watch coming out of Christmas. No question about it.
Kevin, how about you?
Look, I think the team that everyone's sort of forgetting about, and I'm glad McCall mentioned them, is Maryland. Like, they've played awesome. And they have 2 losses. They lost by 4 to Marquette in a game that was very much kind of 50-50 the whole way. Marquette is a top 2 or 3 seed in the NCAA tournament right now. And they lost at Purdue at Mackey, a game that was, again, very sort of 50-50. Maryland led, under 10 minutes to play. This team could be very easily undefeated, and they've been dominant when they've won. I mean, blew the doors off Syracuse. Now, it's a bad Syracuse team, but blew the doors off them, blew the doors off Ohio State a couple weeks ago. Derek Queen's playing phenomenal basketball, but I've been really impressed with Jacoby Gillespie, the Belmont transfer. He's really settled in of late, 4 straight games in double figures. How about this? Last 3 games, 21 assists and 2 turnovers. Like, it's hard to beat when you have elite point guard play, a stud big, and you're defending like they're defending right now. I think people really need to pay attention to Maryland in this Big Ten title race.
Jeff, I would like your favorite like that, but I would also like to hear, because you have such a cynical eye. You have an eye, right, for the cynic. Who do you not believe in? So give me who you like, but then give me who you don't believe in. That's one of your favorite pastimes.
Wow.
I mean, I will say this: I don't believe in any of them completely. So I can be as cynical as you want me to be. There's no team that I feel great about in the Big Ten right now. And I don't think anybody can feel great about any one team, right? They all have flaws, and you could throw like 8 teams in a hat right now and make a case for all 8 potentially winning the Big Ten. I know it sounds insane, but again, Michigan State, you can make a case. UCLA, Maryland, like Sweeney said, Purdue, with the right matchups in the Big Ten, who knows, right? Oregon. We saw what they did in Players era. Illinois, certainly, they absolutely have a shot. Wisconsin looked great early. Indiana might have more talent than all of them. So I think Illinois has probably got the most overall talent. I don't think anybody can argue with that. But Indiana's got big talent and more than $5 million in NIL. I think it's going to be a fun league to watch. If you're telling me, gun to my head, who do I have to bet the house that I do not own, because I don't own a house right now, on? I would say Illinois. Yeah, thanks. I know. I'm going to put this horse down after the show.
You're betting. You're betting Illinois.
Yeah, I would be betting Illinois. If I had to bet on one team, I would be betting on the Illini. But again, I'm curious to know, Sweeney, are you betting on Maryland? Is that the team? If I'm telling you, or are you taking the Illini? McCall, like where are you guys at with the team? Pick one here.
I think to win the league, I would probably say UCLA because of their path. I think who has the best chance to go deep in the tournament To me, that would be Illinois or Maryland, just because I like their makeup, right? With Maryland, it's the point guard play, it's the size. With Illinois, it's Kasparis, it's size, it's shooting, it's Underwood's experience, going to the Elite Eight a year ago. Like, to me, if you're looking for who can be the most consistent and go win 14, 15 league games that it's going to take, that to me lends itself to a UCLA who is a manageable schedule. Mick Cronin, maybe Izzo at Michigan State. They're playing great, 2-0 in the league already. Like, those teams to me have probably a leg up in the regular season. But who do I think has the highest ceiling in March? I think that's when you start thinking about Illinois and Maryland.
Matt, who would you bet on? Who was your answer for a bet? I would go Oregon. I just feel like I get it because Dana just doesn't. Right? Yeah, I mean, we did this whole thing and nobody mentioned the number 10 team in the country. And again, I get it. He's not exactly the most charismatic coach in the world, but he wins. I mean, the guy wins.
The guy wins, no matter where he is.
Come on, he is charismatic. He's very charismatic.
The other team we haven't talked about is Penn State. I mean, Mike Rhodes, Penn State, we haven't talked about them at all. Ace Baldwin is 30 years old. I mean, Ace Baldwin, I was coaching against him at UMass. I haven't coached in 2.5 years. I mean, the guys continue to pickpocket guys and make plays on the defensive end of the floor. Man, it's hard. And I think if UCLA won that game yesterday, and there's probably 5 possessions that you could point to where you're just scratching your head for them, and we know Mick Cronin is scratching his head on that 7-hour flight back from New York out to L.A. I mean, they should have won the game. 100% they should have won the game. R.J. Davis misses the free throw, and then the inbound pass when they inbounded the ball below the block, and they turn it over right there, but they still had multiple opportunities and multiple chances to win the basketball game. So had they won it, I'm with Sweeney. Hey, UCLA, they're already sitting here 2-0. They have a favorable schedule. This pick makes a lot of sense. I'm not giving up on Michigan. I'm not giving up on Dusty May. The 4-5 with Vlad Golden and Danny Wolf and how he's utilizing those guys, executing and running that 4-5 pick and roll. Look, Danny Wolf went to a prep school in New England. You never would have thought watching him in prep school that he would be the player that he is right now. I mean, the guy's a point forward, and he's a mismatch problem. I really think Michigan is – I think they have a chance. But to Goodman's point, and we never want to agree with Goodman, but it's hard to pick one. Illinois with their talent. Indiana has all the talent. Northwestern with Martinelli and 20 points a game and mucking the game up and, defending and all this, it's – and Purdue. I mean, Matt Painter. I mean, how do we ever count those guys out? But I think if UCLA would have won that game yesterday, 1,000% I'm saying UCLA.
Wow.
Yeah, y'all ain't ready. Y'all ain't ready for my look, we don't have to beat around the bush here. My assignments have been cut way down this year. And I think it goes back to some of the things I said a year ago. I don't know what specifically, but I have a lot of time in the basement, time in the Field of 68 basement to come up with a lot of conspiracy theories and very outlandish opinions. And I don't think that anybody listening is ready for that opinion about Dusty May. I don't think anybody's quite ready for that. So we'll continue to let it. We'll let it marinate. No, we'll let it marinate. You can't just
tease that. You can't tease that without giving us something.
Okay. He's got a Final Four, so there's some level, right? There's some level of good. Kevin Ollie won a championship. Kevin Ollie won a championship. You guys ran him out of UConn. What has he achieved besides that? What has he done besides that?
Have you been to FAU? Have you been to
first
FAU?
Of all, we're not going to sit here. We're not going to sit here and try to justify lack of results by program. We're not going to do that. It's a bottom line business. He underachieved a year ago. Where's this Michigan team headed right now? He did underachieve a year ago.
The Michigan's 2-0 in the Big Ten, and he underachieved a year ago by getting an at-large bid, which never had happened at FAU until the year before. What are we talking?
They were ranked in the top 25
they
at the start of the year.
One conference championship ever.
They were ranked.
I was on staff. Mike Thomas. Let's go.
Back everybody. He brought back everybody from the Final Four run, right? And did nothing. He lost in the first round. Didn't win the AAC.
Hey, John.
He didn't win the AAC. He underachieved.
Are you hearing footsteps? Are you hearing Paul Fritzner's footsteps?
I haven't had the pleasure of meeting Paul. I look forward to doing that. But until I meet him, I can't possibly know what his footsteps sound like. Right?
They're big. They're big.
What a bad
I
take.
think Dusty
Bad
May is
take.
hearing Tom Izzo's footsteps. That's what he's about to hear. All right. They didn't win the league. They didn't win the league last year. They were picked to win the league. They didn't do it. So that's underachieving as far as I'm. That's why I'm in the basement this year. That's why they put me in the Field of 68 basement, and they only let me out once every 2 weeks. We're going to talk to Chris Jans, Mississippi State. Obviously, massive win for him. That's undeniable this weekend on the road at Memphis. We'll talk about that. Also, Kentucky confusing us. They're just confusing us as this year goes on. We'll get into all of that and more. Stick around. Field of 68 after dark.
If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today. Now that college basketball season is back in full swing, I need to remind you guys about our partners over at Autograph, where the real college hoops fans reside. The Autograph app curates all of the best content for every sports fan and every sports fan's favorite team. Podcasts, blogs, analysis. It's all there without the nonsense from the talking heads that don't actually watch the games. And there's a bonus. Consuming content on the Autograph app earns you coins that can be redeemed for rewards for things like no-fee tickets or signed jerseys from your favorite players. There are a couple new features in the app that I need to let you guys know about as well. Autograph Replay gives you a quick hitting summary of the previous day's news so you can keep track of all the important things going on with your favorite teams. And Autograph Rooms allows you to chat in real time with the true voices of fandom within your team's community. So go to the link in the description or scan that QR code on your screen and download the Autograph app.
Back Field of 68 after dark here on a Sunday, December 22nd edition of the show. We are going to be joined by Chris Jans, Mississippi State head basketball coach here in just a little bit. Lots to talk about with him in that SEC. I mean, my goodness. It does not get any easier after beating Memphis. It only gets tougher for him. So we'll get into all of that with him when he joins us here in just a little bit. But speaking of the SEC here, Kentucky, at one point, Jeff, looked like, everything we said in the offseason about Mark Pope, all the skepticism, all the doubt about his ability to get talent, all the doubt about his ability to replace Calipari. He made us look really stupid in the first few weeks of the season. And he probably still is, honestly. But a tough result last night for him, just kind of out of nowhere. And I guess that does happen in college basketball, but no Michi Johnson for Ohio State. They won the game outright by a lot as a 9-point underdog. So what do you make of it? I mean, how do you explain that effort from Kentucky and just, what you make of them?
Well, I think if you look at it, again, they were fortunate to win their two big games, right? They could have lost both. Duke, certainly in Champions Classic, and Gonzaga in Seattle. They came back from, 18 down in that one to beat the Zags. Took care of Louisville, but didn't blow them out at home at Rupp. And, this is a team that, frankly, isn't overpowering. They're good, but, again, Lamont Butler went crazy in that game to be able to beat Gonzaga. Gonzaga, right? That was that one.
Yes.
To me, again, like this is a team that's built on making threes and overall power by numbers. They don't have a stud player. They got a bunch of good players. They lost one of them in Kirk Risa, who gives them kind of, their energy, their intensity, their swagger a little bit. They didn't look like they had that. But again, they didn't make shots. And I just wonder, they weren't the fourth best team. I don't think anybody thought that they were the fourth best team in the country. Their resume said that they were worthy of being the fourth ranked team in the country at that point because they beat Duke and they beat Gonzaga. Again, they go 0-2 in those two, which they very well could have done. They're both one-possession games. then you're talking about a team that's ranked probably closer to 20 instead of 4. So I think that could be Kentucky at the end of the day. It could be a 20th ranked team that maybe listen, if they get to the second weekend, and I know the expectations are probably higher than that right now because of how they came out of the gates, but if they get to the second weekend, that's a hell of a season for Mark Pope in year one. When was the last time, Sweeney, that John Calipari went to the second weekend? Been a while.
Yeah, I think it was pre-COVID. Look, I don't think there's large takes to be had from this game. I thought Ohio State was brilliant. I thought Kentucky laid an egg. Like, it happens. Like, anyone like who's around the game knows eventually you're gonna put up a stinker. Like, it happens. Like, this team does not have the talent, and you sort of alluded to this, Jeff. Like, I don't think Kentucky has the talent to not play that well and overwhelm teams. Right? There were times under Cal, because you had NBA players, where like they're not playing great, but at the end of the day, they have the best players on the floor. They're gonna do that. Like, Bruce Thornton might be the best player on the floor, at least in terms of
he was
overall talent. He certainly was yesterday. I'm just saying in general. Like, if you were starting a draft of these guys, I'm not convinced Bruce Thornton's not the right. Yeah. So that to me is, I think, where Kentucky will run into trouble, is like when they're not executing at a high level, when their effort's a little low, when they're not defending the way that they've defended. Do they have the juice to go win a big game? Maybe not. But I think they've proven who they are early on in the year, and we don't need to overreact to one bad showing, given how well they've performed here in the first month and a half.
Matt, you are certainly you have built your reputation at this network for losing your shit. So I would expect you to do the same here.
Look, live by the 3, die by the 3. Bottom line. And Kentucky going into the game is the number 1 offense in the entire country. And if they make shots, they can beat anybody. Yesterday, they didn't make shots. I mean, that was their worst offensive output on the entire season. My bigger concern would be on the other end of the basketball, just in terms of the defensive effort. Bruce Thornton, when he goes for over 20 points per game on this season, Ohio State was 4-1. So he's the guy. When he doesn't get to double figures, which is what happened in the Auburn game, which is what happened in other games this season, they don't win. So shutting him down is the biggest key. Now, he was magnificent, and I agree with Sweeney and I agree with Goodman in terms of who was the best player on the floor. But it's like, hey, this is the head of the snake. We got to stop him. And they didn't do that. So how are they going to win games when they're not making threes? And that, to me, was what was evident yesterday. Look, it was a bad game. They didn't have a great performance. Obviously, they didn't shoot the basketball from behind the perimeter at all. But, okay, when we're not making shots, we got to find other ways to win the basketball game. And that started with Bruce Thornton, cutting the head of the snake off. Because based on the numbers and the analytics, and that's what everyone's focused on now, he's the guy. And anytime he goes for over 20, Ohio State wins. The only time they didn't win was the overtime loss to Pittsburgh. That was the only game that they haven't won this season when he's gone for over 20. He goes for 30 yesterday. How are they going to win games? How is BBN going to win games when it's not going well behind the three-point line? That's the biggest question mark. Now, when they get to March and they get hot, they can go on a run. No question about it. And what Coach Pope has done has been really, really impressive, walking through the door, not having a single player on his roster. But it's okay. When it's grind time and we're in the SEC and we're in a dogfight with Mississippi State and the score is 65-67, with 4 minutes to go in the game, like, how are they going to grind that out? That would be my biggest concern with Kentucky.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Real quick, Jeff, before we do get to Chris Jans, the Ohio State piece of this. I mean, is there anything that they can sort of, take out of this and ride, the rest of the way? Because obviously, their coach, there's still a healthy amount of skeptics out there. Should he have been given the job? Should they, so this on that personal level to maybe quiet those people a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big one for them. They had missed out on some opportunities earlier this year. Obviously, Jake Diebler, first-year head coach, who got promoted. But they got Aaron Bradshaw back, and I thought that was huge. He was great after playing 4 games, having almost a month off. He gives them the length they need. They just don't have enough up front without him, and not just him. Like, not just his presence, but, like, he's got to be impactful on both ends of the court. He's super, super talented, but it's been all upside so far. And he's missed a lot of time between his time preseason last year at Kentucky as a freshman and obviously this year sitting out with some of the legal stuff that he was going through over the last month. But, the other part is Meechie Johnson. Does he even come back? He's left the team. And the big question with a lot of players right now, and this is a conversation that honestly needs to be had at some point. And I'm not saying this is going on necessarily with Meechie because I don't know for sure. But there's a lot of players around the country right now that are trying to figure out if they're not happy with the rules or they're hurt or whatever, do I shut it down? Do I shut it down because the deadline is now? And if I shut it down, I have another year of eligibility and I can go get more NIL next year. Again, that's a dilemma for a guy like Meechie Johnson, who stepped away due to personal issues, which are real. But then there's the financial issues that come in as well with a lot of these players right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And without further ado, we mentioned it to start the show. A lot of big wins over the weekend in college basketball. One of those belongs to the head coach of the Mississippi State Bulldogs. That's Chris Jans. He is with us as we speak. Coach, thanks for the time as always. I'm here in Memphis, and so I was. And what struck me was just the energy from the jump, just the effort from the jump. And you mentioned the extra time to prep, and it clearly shows. So just how important was that, having a little bit of extra time against a good Memphis team? Your guys looked ready, man.
What's up, guys? How we doing?
Coach, happy holidays.
Right? You got a
Merry
good Christmas coming, don't you, right now?
Huh?
You got a good holiday coming.
I told my wife I was on vacation for 4 days, so this doesn't feel like vacation, she told me. But all good. I said, for these guys, we got to make it happen. Saturday was obviously fun for us. It's not hard to get your guys ready to play when they're playing a ranked team and you get to play in, the Forum. Memphis had some great wins thus far in the season. UConn, Michigan State, what a road trip going to Clemson and Virginia and beating both those programs on their home floor. So if our kids weren't ready to play, Saturday, I knew we were going to have a problem. And fortunately they were. They were juiced up and ready to go. And I mentioned in the post-game media room that, they had a heck of a road trip, had less, 1 day less to prepare, had to fly home that night. We were comfortable at home, preparing ahead of them. Everything was in our favor when it came to that. And I'm sure they had some tired legs as well with just the travel, et cetera. So, we took advantage of it and certainly loved the way our kids came out to play. And other than the last couple of minutes of the game, played very, very well.
Listen, everybody knows about, well, maybe not everybody, but everybody who follows college basketball knows about Josh Hubbard. One of the best, most electric offensive players in the country. But obviously, he's a guy who needed help. And you brought in a couple of guys on this team that certainly Riley Kugel looked great. I mean, that's the best I think I've ever seen him look, to be honest, against Memphis. And, I saw Claudell Harris here not here, I'm in Charleston, but at Boston College. And he can shoot it and he can score. When did you know you had a team here that was more of a team, Jans, rather than, I don't want to say a one-man team last year, but like so much was on Hubbard from the perimeter. Obviously, you had Tolu down low.
Yeah, I think in the summer, you get together in the summer and get to know everybody and, you got limited hours and you certainly at the first part of it anyway, you're doing more individuals. And then as the summer unfolds, you get more of your team stuff. And we just had some moments where we play like a 5-minute game and, the score was much higher than it had been. And I remember going over to a couple of the guys like, am I misremembering? Or like, usually these games are like 8-2, and it was like 16-14, in a 5-minute game. And certainly, it gets you excited about what could be and easier to score the ball. And, the other side of your brain's going, we can't guard anybody. And that was a point of discussion all summer and fall that, I would tell people even in, our local media, like, we're not going to be as good defensively. We're just not. After getting to know them over the summer and the fall, we're not as girthy as we were. We lost some guys that were defensive minded. But you go out in the portal and you get guys like that you mentioned and others that, were more known for their offensive talent. I mean, what do you expect, right? You're not going to be as good defensively, but hopefully you're going to be better offensively. And that's kind of how it's worked out. So myself and the rest of our staff have had to adjust, to that. Our style of play has changed quite a bit. Some local people are like, what about the defense, this, that, and the other? And I tell everybody, I don't really care how we win. I mean, I'm not caught up in, being known as a defensive, minded program or anything like that. I just want to win games. And with where the game is going and where the kids are at, wanting to score and being able to score, trying to, modernize your offense, just makes a lot of sense to try to do it that way.
Coach, I had you guys out in Arizona, and you dropped that game to Butler. And I went on a rant yesterday in studio, just like right before the game against Memphis. No offense, John Martin. I know you were in Memphis when I was in studio yesterday, so no offense to you. But just on a rant, like, this team is for real. And I think one of the things that makes your team so good is even going into those games out in Arizona, I think you had started like 7 different starting lineups. So as an opposing coach, trying to figure out who are you starting, how are you going to balance this, who's coming to the game, all things like that. But do you feel like the unselfishness of your team and guys being willing, like a Riley Kugel, to come off the bench and have an impact, is that the strength of this team, Coach?
Yeah, it's a good point. Let's be honest. The reason I changed so many lineups to start the season is I didn't know who to start. We didn't have a lot of separation. I'm not that smart to have a master plan to motivate this or motivate that. I told them before the first game, though, they're like, listen, this is how it's going to work. We're going to change lineups and see how it works. It's going to be for a while. I'm not sure how long. Don't try to read into it too much. The old school approach is, who's in the game when it matters, who's in the game when it's hard, who's at the game when the score is imbalanced toward the end of the game. That tells you, how we feel about you in terms of trust, etc. But we really were trying to figure it out. Certainly, a lot of people are going to critique us. Hey, you got to know who your starters are. You got to know when you're coming off the bench. You got to know, who you're playing with. And I get that part too. And certainly we want to settle in and hopefully we will soon. But, I don't know, it's worked out for us thus far. And, you mentioned a player, Riley or anybody else for that matter, being okay with not starting. I'm not sure if they're okay with it or not. I mean, they haven't said anything to me about it, but, it's been a so far so good situation.
Coach, what's it been like watching this start for the SEC as a whole? Like, are you on one hand pumped because, all right, all these wins are going to matter, and the other hand, you're like scared to death all these games you're going to play? Like, what's it been like to watch the dominance of this league for the first 2 months?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. In October and November, and we're beating the drum like, man, this is going to be awesome. I remember in the summer. I remember sitting around in July, sitting next to a coach that I know well, and I go, the whole SEC's in the gym, and I go, hey, tell me which one of these coaches doesn't think they have a team that's good enough to be in March Madness. And we looked around, I'm like, none of them. Knowing what I knew of who they're coming back, who the coach was, who they had signed in their classes, portal or high school. And I'm like, I would think I was going to the tournament if I had their roster. And I just kept getting I go, and not everybody's going. The musical chairs is game's going to be played, and you don't want to be the one standing, obviously, when the music stops. And I just, all I could think about was that how good it was going to be, at least on paper. And then, fortunately, it's unfolded that way. It's been historic, and I root for them every single night. I love being a small part in it. I'm glad our program's a part of it. But I'm not going to lie to you, right? ask me in late January how I feel about it, I'm not sure what the answer will be, because there's a lot of great teams and a whole bunch of good teams. There's no bad teams in the SEC this year. There's not one. There's nobody that doesn't think they have a chance to win every single night. So from a quad perspective, which obviously really, really matters, that's cool. It's awesome. It's exciting. But from a winning game perspective, it's pretty daunting. And, if I was y'all, I'd be like, heck yeah, I can't wait to see it unfold. But, from my chair, it's a little intimidating at times.
Hey, Jans, tell these guys how much money Josh Hubbard's making in NIL.
Oh, why would you do that to me, man? I thought about that.
I told you this. I told you this. I've never heard this from any other coach, and I think it's really, really interesting. And I want you to say this because I do. Like, you choose not to want to know how much players are making NIL wise. Explain.
Kevin, we got to know each other a little bit. Matt, love you. What you're about. John, don't know you as well, but like you and us two, you can ask me anything you want in the summer and all that. But he just broke a trust, man. He just put me on blast a little bit, making me talk about this.
What do you mean? No, I think it's awesome that you don't. This was something that
I
honestly,
know you do. That don't mean I
do.
I
think it's something that you like. Honestly, it's amazing, and I think it's makes it easier for you to coach guys. Why?
Well, the obvious. You're not talking about money. I don't know how you are, but like when I talk about money with my wife or my kids, it usually doesn't end very well, man. Like it's a tough subject to talk about, man. It usually, is a hot button. I don't know how y'all are, but that's usually my experience with it.
100%, Coach. 100%.
Right? I mean, so it just makes sense. Like, with my basketball family, I really don't want to talk about money that much either. And, again, I'm not smart enough to have figured all that out. But it just happened organically. I really did. It wasn't like a master plan that I had walking in here right in the middle of when NIL became real. It just, I don't know. It's worked out that way. I don't get involved in the negotiation part. I don't get involved in the nuts and bolts of that part of it. Certainly, we talk about that in either the first or second conversation like everybody else does. And, what we have is what we have. And, I take myself out of that part of the equation. And why is what I tell them is, listen, I want to coach your son. I want to, help him get better. I want to develop him. I want to mentor him. I want to, be a part of his journey. But I don't want to be involved in the nuts and bolts of that part of it, because I don't want to look at him any kind of way. And I just know how personalities are. And I tell my staff the same thing, that you shouldn't tell me what the numbers are either, because then I could look at you funny someday in practice or game. So it's kind of wild how it's unfolded, but I just don't. And I know most people won't believe me, but I don't know what Josh Hubbard is in his NIL compensation from the university, or from our collective, a university here short enough. But and it's been fine. I've never had a conversation about it with one of my players in 3 years. I've never had someone come knock on my door and say, Coach, I want to talk to you about NIL. And I've certainly talked to my colleagues about it, and that's not the same everywhere else. And everyone has a different personality. I just want to teach and coach and keep it there. And I mean, it sounds simple enough, and somehow we've worked it out. And don't get me wrong, we got some code words that we use. The staff will come in. It's like, how bad do you want so-and-so? And so we've worked out a little code words to use. And it's kind of helped to the point where people on campus, like, that are somewhat involved, in that world, they'll stay away from talking to me about, figures and numbers, and they'll catch myself. Oh, sorry. I don't want to bring that up. So it just is what it is.
Hey, Jans, last one I have for you. Has Danny Hurley sent you Christmas presents over the last couple of years? Because he owes you a lot. Like, he should be giving you part of his paycheck maybe some of the net over the last 2 years because you changed everything. I mean, Dan Hurley will say it. The loss to you guys in the NCAA tournament a couple years ago changed his entire approach. And ever since, UConn has been absolutely dominant.
Couple of things. One, I hope that's in the end isn't my claim to fame. But two, I'm glad that you say it because he's told me that, in one of those sweaty gyms in the summer, along with Kamani Young, and I enjoy, settling up to those guys, and inevitably, maybe I do because they're always going to bring that game up, which is a great memory for me. But we've had a lot of fun with it. We really, really have. What they've done obviously is, historic, with the back-to-back and the way they've done it. And certainly the expectations on them this year are off the chart. But it's been, a little asterisk, I guess, of what's going on. And, if we can somehow make the tournament, who knows if we ever, get matched up to them. But I'd like to be, because that probably means more than likely that, it won't be in the first round and we've won a game or two, in order to play, someone like UConn in March Madness, the way it worked out for seeding. But he's told me that, and we've enjoyed getting to know each other better. And when he walks away, me and Kamani have really fun conversations about Coach Hurley when he walks away, and talk about this and that and the other. And I'm not trying to get Kamani in trouble because I love him, but we had some fun with it this summer for sure.
Well, Coach, congratulations on the win this weekend. Congrats on the season. Happy holidays, and thanks for spending a little time with us here tonight on After Dark. Appreciate it, Coach. Thank you.
Y'all have a Merry Christmas. Appreciate y'all. Hail State.
Appreciate you too. Thank you, man.
He is Mississippi State head coach Chris Jans. During the break, we are certainly going to revoke Jeff Goodman's asking questions privilege. We're going to get into that. Yeah, no, that was good. That was good. But you're. Really I have a naughty list.
Tell me that's not interesting.
It was. So he doesn't know any of them. He doesn't know what any of his players are making at all.
Nope.
That was okay, because he didn't want to talk about it. Clearly.
I think he was surprised by the question. I think that would be the
official term for sure. Well, listen, we're going to come back, talk a little bit of UConn, but also it's the holiday season. There have been some nice teams and nice coaches around college basketball, and then there have been some naughty ones. We're going to get into who's been nice and who's been naughty when we get back. You're watching Field of 68 After Dark.
Now that the college basketball season is in full swing, you need to make sure that you have access to the best betting tool on the market, the Rhythm app. Spelled RITHMM, is a data-backed app that uses AI and analytics to identify inefficiencies in betting lines and the player prop market that will allow you, the user, to profit. You can create customized, analytics-driven betting models tailored to your personal preferences as a bettor. Users have access to up-to-the-second against-the-spread data. And if you're like me and you understand pictures better than numbers on a screen, Rhythm's internal trend analysis provides you with the kind of graphs that will allow you to evaluate past results and project future performance in a visual way. Every Division I college basketball team is included in Rhythm's metrics. Free subscribers to the Field of 68 Daily will get 25% off for a Rhythm subscription. Use the QR code on the screen to sign up or download at the link in the description.
Welcome back, Field of 68 After Dark. This is the college basketball show that goes where no other is willing.
You think?
Yeah, I think that's what we should hang on.
Yeah. That's accurate.
We will ask you what your point guard is making on the show. So yes, that is that's different, man. That's what sets you apart, man. That's why you have the horse in the background. You know, you earned it.
Yeah, he earned the
How
horse.
heavy this horse is, actually. I want to see how heavy it is.
Look at this.
I haven't even. Damn.
They charge extra
That's
if you break that, just so you know. Is that a VRBO?
Actually, you're right. You're right to call.
Yeah. Come on, put that thing back. They charge extra, Goodman.
We got to get our deposit. We got to get our deposit back, right?
Exactly right. All right. Appreciate Chris Jans for joining us. Obviously, again, off to a great start this year down there in Starkville. Well, it is the holiday season, and as such, you know, the way it goes, I'll recap it real quick, Jeff. Santa Claus, if you're nice, right, he comes to your house. He comes down the chimney, right? And if you're naughty, you get a lump of coal. That's what you get. You don't get the toys, you get the coal. So that's kind of how we're going to do this thing for college basketball so far this season. Matt, I'm going to start with you. This is my favorite thing. Your naughty list.
Of course you are.
Your naughty list.
How did I know?
I want to
How did I know?
I want to know who's on your naughty list. Who has been the most disappointing team in your mind?
Okay, can I start? I'm gonna start somewhere different than specific team. Okay, good. Here we go.
Here we go again.
Yesterday, we had some great college basketball games. Phenomenal. We had Carolina, Kentucky, Ohio State, UCLA, Carolina, Mississippi State, Memphis. We had some great games. Just to mention a few. We had awful college football playoff games. Games that were not even close. And we have the NCAA trying to mess with the NCAA tournament and add more teams into the NCAA tournament and mess with something that is perfect. We get great games in the NCAA tournament. Yesterday, if you're a college football fan, you probably turned the TV off. It wasn't even exciting. And these members of the NCAA are trying to still mess with the tournament. They're on my naughty list. Knock it off. Leave it alone. It's one of the greatest sporting events in the entire world. And to add more teams in, you're going to get bad games. We don't need bad games. We have great games on the first few days of the NCAA tournament. So they're number one on my naughty list. So I'm going to start there. In terms of a team,
I think it's a good call. I think it's actually a good call. It's a cop-out, but I think as cop-outs go, it's a good cop-out.
you think it's a cop-out?
Well, you didn't. Yeah. I mean, you act like we're talking about basketball teams. You go with a damn committee. But again, I agree with it, so I'll allow it.
Okay, all right, great. Then we'll stay there. We'll stay there.
So
We'll stay there.
McCall goes with the tournament committee, and Charlie Baker forever considering expanding this thing. Sweeney, who's been the most disappointing team? Who's on your naughty list?
I think it'd be hard not to be Kansas State. Like the way things have gone the last couple weeks, right? Like, look, I wanted to give them a pass early just because it's so many new guys. You're playing a different way with two, maybe three bigs on the floor. The LSU loss, it was what it was. Liberty's a good team. But to get blown out like they did yesterday against an in-state rival in Wichita State, a Wichita State team, by the way, coming off a loss to UMKC, like that's a bad look. Like it's a flat-out bad look for this group. I think it's going to be really hard for them now with just how negative it's gotten around them, feeling the weight of the expectations and the pressure, and now you go into the Big 12, which is obviously so good and so loaded. How do you respond? But look, I mean, they invested a ton of resources in making this roster championship level in the Big 12, and for them to potentially be the worst team in that league, hard not to put them on the naughty list so far.
Barbara Walters. Jeff Goodman.
I mean, I have multiple teams.
Oh, really? Really?
Shocker. One was
He's got a
Kansas
list.
State.
He's the Grinch.
Yeah, one was
He's
Kansas
the Grinch.
State. I mean, we probably don't have enough time to go through all of my naughty.
Jim
lists.
Carrey over here.
That's right.
I'm going to start with my alma mater. Arizona. They've been extremely disappointing. And, again, you look at their best win, guys. Their best win so far is against Davidson on a neutral court. That's probably their best win so far. They're 6-5. They got TCU at home coming up. They could lose that one. They go to 6-6. And, Caleb Love has not been what they thought he'd be, especially this year. And Jaden Bradley hasn't taken the step. And KJ Lewis has been good, but not great. And so that's number one. Number two would be Miami for me. I mean, they've been an absolute disaster this year. And I saw them in Charleston. They lost all 3 games. They've now lost, Sweeney's math was incorrect yesterday. I think it's 8 of their last 9 or something like that. Northwestern mathematics just aren't what they used to be.
No, I mean, Goodman, to be clear, losing 7 of 8 and losing 8 of 9, both were accurate. I just didn't. I was being nice.
You didn't add on. Yes,
I was being nice to Jim. They're having a rough go. Let's soften the blow.
Yeah, and Jim Larinaga is 75, and he had an incredible run recently. 2-3 years ago, he was Final Four, Elite 8. Like, it was an unbelievable run, but I hate to say it, but it's time. It is time for Jim Larinaga probably to step away after this year. It just isn't working right now. 75 years old, man. Go on vacation. Go travel the world. Have fun, Jim. You don't need to be dealing with this crap right now and losing 8 of 9. So those would be 2 for me. Arizona, Miami, Kansas State, all 3 of those, the trifecta for me.
We're going to kind of work through these. We have a sort of series of questions here. The next one in the naughty category would be coach you need to see more of or more from. I guess Larinaga would not be your answer, Jeff, because you want to see less from him. You want him to go away. So what coach do you want to see more from?
What coach do I want to see more from? I'd say Dusty May would be one at Michigan. I don't know which way they're going to go this year. Well, it could go either way. So I'm not ready to bury him like you and send him back to FAU.
He underachieved last year. He underachieved.
But what I will say, the other one, I'll stay in the state of Michigan, is Tom Izzo. Can Tom Izzo make a run again? Can they be nationally relevant? Can they be relevant in the Big Ten for a Big Ten title? I don't know. Again, we talked about the Big Ten earlier, and somebody's going to have to finish 9th or 10th that we think has a chance to probably fight for one of those top 3 spots. So Michigan and Michigan State are 2 teams, not necessarily 2 coaches, because we know what Tom Izzo has done over the course of his career. But those are 2 teams I want to see more of.
Kevin, is there a team or a coach that you need to see more of and more from?
Yeah. I've been disappointed with Baylor, where I've really not played well in their 3 biggest games of the year. A team that I thought was really talented. I think still is really talented. Obviously, got to get Roach back to full health. He's so important to their team. Not quite to the Arizona level of disappointment, right? They've still been good. That St. John's win, I think, will continue to age really well. But I still believe that this group's ceiling is to be right there with Iowa State and Kansas at the top of the Big 12, and they haven't played like that so far.
Matt, team, coach that you'd like to just see a little bit more from. It doesn't, but just a little more from.
I'm going to go USC, the Must Bus. When you saw that they only scored 36 points against St. Mary's, and coming out of that, they lose to New Mexico, lose to Oregon, they've won 4 straight. Who is this team? When he went out there and went out to LA, it's look, Musk can coach, and we know that. We've seen what he's been able to do, whether he's at Nevada or at Arkansas. So that team, I just feel like there's a lot of question marks going on out there. And who are they? Are they the team that scored only 36 points against St. Mary's, or are they the team that won 4 games in a row? So Big Ten play is getting ready to get ramped up. So I'm going to say the Must Bus. That's who I want to see more out of.
I love this version of you, man. I got to say. I really do. Because I just feel like in 2023, he'd have kind of slipped out of it. He'd have said, listen, you could see more from every coach. Every coach we'd like to see more from, He would have done that a year ago. But
I didn't dodge the question.
No, you didn't. 100%. All right, let's go to this is the way this is working as a snake draft. So you're going to get the first crack at it, Matt. It's the nice list. We love this. We love putting teams and coaches on the nice list. So, Matt, to you, who has been the most surprising team this year?
Tennessee, undefeated, lose Dalton Connect, number 1 team in the country. I mean, who would have thought that? And they haven't played the greatest of schedule, but they've taken care of business, and they're the number 1 team in the country. Losing Dalton Connect, arguably, if there was no Zach Edey, would have been National Player of the Year last season. To be where they are, that's really impressive. I got to put them at the top of the list, and then I'm going to go the Johnnies, St. John's. Coming out of the Bahamas, the 2 losses that they had down there, they have played extremely good basketball coming out of there. Zuby Ejiofor, you could make a case, if there was no Janai Broom, that he's the best front court player in the country. He has been absolutely outstanding. Coach Pitino has those guys playing at a high clip. So I got those 2 guys on the nice list.
Kevin.
Oklahoma. I mean, shout out to Porter Mosier, man. 12-0, undefeated. Like, the marriage between him and Jeremiah Fears is truly sort of like an odd couple situation, but it has worked out in the best of ways. And they have an opportunity to go to the tournament. Really happy for them. Happy for Porter. Like, 2 years out of the last 3, really the most disappointed on Selection Sunday. For them to be on this track is really fun.
Jeff, this is big. This is a big answer for you.
This is huge.
The Memphis Tigers and Penny Hardaway on my nice list.
Wow.
Despite the loss to Chris Jans in Mississippi State, I love the fact that Penny scheduled up in the non-conference. Absolutely love it. And it worked because they have enough right now. They've got enough where they can slip up a couple times, I think, in the AAC and still be fine and get in the NCAA tournament and maybe even get a decent seed, depending on what UConn and Michigan State become, because those wins are mammoth. And again, yeah, the Arkansas State loss was terrible. But other than that, Mississippi State's going to be pretty good. We know that. And then you go to Clemson. So Clemson could be the second best team in the ACC. Those are 3 wins you can hang your hat on for the rest of the year. Penny Hardaway, absolutely the Memphis Tigers. Tyrese Hunter's been awesome shooting the ball this year. PJ Haggerty's been pretty damn good. You got to put him on your nice list.
Well, that's shocking because a week from now, you're going to be. I guess it'll technically be the new year. You're going to be dog cussing them, but you know what? I mean, that's just part of the deal. You got to earn.
That's the holidays.
Nice.
That's the holidays. When you go Christmas shopping and you get to the store and you got all 3 kids with you and you're trying to buy presents for your wife, it's chaotic. Yeah. But you know what? When she opens it on Christmas Day, it's a different feeling.
That's right. Because
sounds
Sweeney,
very specific.
You know as well as I do, Sweeney, that whenever they play at FAU, if they lose at FAU, we're going to get that long-ass list of all the former players, Chris Mullen and Patrick Ewing. We're gonna
Goodman will be tweeting the picture of him playing.
You're really hung up on the FAU thing, too. Like, you will not let that go. Like, you are scarred from FAU beating Memphis so many times. You're scarred. You are scarred.
Sweet 16. They sure did.
Dusty May is no longer the coach at FAU. You know that, right? He's at Michigan. Do you realize that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
I'm just making. All right.
Yes, I get it though. Okay, we have a couple more to work through here before we get out of here on a Sunday of the nice list. And again, Jeff, you get first crack. It's a snake draft. Who's got the best win this year? Who's the best win in college basketball to you?
Probably Kentucky going against Gonzaga. You know, the way they won it, and I just think. I mean, both of them were huge. Don't get me wrong. The one against Duke was huge too in Champions Classic because it got that fan base behind Mark Pope, right? It got him to feel good about that change because, like you said earlier in the show, there were some skeptics of watching Calipari leave for Arkansas. So I think those 2 wins were as important for a coach, for a program, as any in the entire country.
Sweeney?
I mean, Auburn at Maui against Iowa State was unreal, and really you could say the Houston game very similarly. But for them to come back the way they did against a team that good defensively, and then that set them on the path to go win Maui and have all this momentum. And I think that result in the Houston win were sort of season changing for Auburn because now they feel I just think they walk into every gym thinking they're the baddest thing around and like nobody's beating them. And I love this group, but that was an incredibly impressive win. I'd say number one of the season so far.
Matt?
Give me Dayton over Marquette. I just, the top 10 team, Dayton, they beat UConn out in Maui. They were close against Carolina. They were close against Iowa State. They handled their business up to that. I know they dropped one to Cincinnati, but for Anthony Grant's team to lose what they lost last year, Kobe Elvis starts at an undefeated Oklahoma team. Kobe Brea comes off the bench at Kentucky, but is one of their leading scorers. And then Deron Holmes is now in the NBA. For them to beat a top 10 team, to have 2 top 10 wins against UConn and Marquette, that win against Marquette for me, for the Dayton Flyers, was one of the more impressive wins all season.
I think, mathematically, it belongs to Charleston Southern, who beat Miami as 22-point underdogs, something crazy. Mathematically,
this is big analytics. That's based on the analytics.
But that is mathematically the best win in college basketball. Okay, just for the record, shout out to Charleston Southern. Our toast of the night here, Matt. Who has been the most surprising player this season for you?
Oof, the most surprising. Going into last night, and this is hard to call him a surprising guy, because Josh Hubbard from Mississippi State, his assist to turnover ratio, he had 39 assists and 3 turnovers. Now, he had 4 turnovers in the first half yesterday against Memphis, but that is remarkable. To be getting 18 points per game and have that level of assist to turnover ratio is really, really impressive. I know it dropped after yesterday, but shout out to the Mississippi State Bulldogs, Starkville, toast of the night. Great win.
All right, well, there we go. Sweeney, what you got?
I got another Mississippi kid, Elijah Martin at Florida. Look, I think he was in a tough place last year. I thought mentally, he wore it the most of their struggles and him not living up to the expectation, all the hype. He gets a fresh start at Florida. Todd Golden has gotten the best out of him. He's averaging 15, 6, and 3. How many transfers can you go and get who can do that, who shoot the 3 like he does? And then defensively, he's been a huge reason why Florida's been so much better on that end of the floor as well. So I think he's been the most overlooked transfer in the country as far as a guy who's been one of the best newcomers really in the country. And I give him a lot of credit. I give Florida a lot of credit for seeing that in him after he struggled a year ago. A big reason the Gators are undefeated.
And Mr. Goodman.
I like it. Sweeney, you know who I'm going with? You want to guess?
I don't even want to know.
Bennett Starts.
Oh, here we go.
Bennett Starts. Well, listen, the dude came out of Division II, Northwest Missouri State, went to Liberty High. The only other school that recruited him was William Jewell College in his hometown of Liberty, Missouri. And he has turned out to be one of the top players in the entire country. He's averaging almost 18 points a game, 6 assists a game, 4 rebounds a game, and all he does is win. He is the guy, the straw that stirs the drink for the Drake Bulldogs, who are undefeated. After beating the Fighting Gottliebs last night, they remain undefeated, and they're in position to be the only true one-bid league team that I think has a legitimate chance to get in that large bid right now as we enter league play. So Bennett Starts, man, if you haven't seen him, watch him. He is so much fun to watch, and he's just a point guard who knows how to play, man. Makes all the right decisions.
My favorite part about Bennett Starts, by the way, is the fact that he has played 99.7% of their minutes against Division I teams this year. He's missed 1 minute all season long. So.
Love it.
Matt, who we got?
A guess. Who is this?
This is Maverick. He's ready for the holidays. He's ready to go look at some Christmas lights.
Is.
Big Maverick,
Yes,
what's up? What's up? Say what's up,
Mav.
Mav.
Can you say hello?
There we go.
Now,
now listen.
How old are you? Mav, how old are you? 3.
There we go. Oh, Santa's coming
You are
down the
very
chimney.
cute.
My kid is going crazy right now. She's 3.5. Now I will say this: Matt, I don't know what's going. I must not be running a tight enough ship over here. You're trying to combine your toast of the night into your most surprising player. We're bringing your butt back, and we're doing toast of the night. And with the help of your children, you're going to give us a toast of the night on Sunday, December 20th.
Your internet broke up there. What was the last part of it?
Toast of the night. It's on you.
I've already given my
You didn't
toast.
pay the bill.
I gave
All right.
my toast.
All right. All right.
You want me to give another one?
I was given strict orders. They want it again. One from the night
Toast
is
of
what
the
I'm
night to
told.
college basketball. We had a good day yesterday. We had great games. It's the holidays. This is the most challenging time for all these players and all these teams as everyone goes home, trying to finish up the holiday season, have some fun, enjoy your families, get back to work. We're going to have some great games going into 2025. So we're closing out 2024 and going into Christmas break. Cheers to that.
All right, that's a real.
And
that's
this
a
is
real
not
good
going to be
stuff.
the field of 74. It's always going to be the field of 68.
There we go. Kevin, you got one
Let's
for
hope.
us tonight?
Yeah, toast to Chris Jans for tolerating Jeff Goodman's crazy questions on it.
Yeah.
It was such a good question. I mean, listen, it's a unique topic, and he handled it well. He did. He handled it well, no doubt about it. I'm going to toast to Greg Campy. Gets a big win tonight over Loyola Chicago out in Hawaii. My guess is Campy will be surfing later tonight somewhere in Oahu.
Love it. Love it. We'll drink to that. Well, listen, it wasn't tonight, but I'll do it real quick. Paul Mills need Wichita State to be back, where it was once upon a time. And I know Kansas State's down, but that's a big win for them. Maybe they can build off of it, and this can be a top 3 team in the AAC, top 2 team in the AAC because the league needs it. So toast to Paul Mills. I'll drink. And with that, that's going to do it for us tonight on the show. For Kevin Sweeney and for Jeff Goodman and the horse that he rode in on. I'm John Martin. Thanks for spending a little time with us
Pay
here.
your Wi-Fi
on Field of
bill. Pay your
After Dark.
Wi-Fi bill, Mark.
I'm on it.